Can you guys hear me now? Is the microphone connected? Can you guys hear me now? No captions, no sound. Okay. Can you guys hear me now? Is the microphone connected? Can you guys hear me now? Awesome. No captions, no sound. Okay. Can you guys see any captions? You can hear me? Super. Yeah, sometimes there's streaming issues, and so if you can hear me loud and clear, that is super. Now we can go ahead and get started. If you do not see captions, I have captions turned on, but sometimes if it doesn't pick up sound, it will not allow the closed captions to automatically pick up. So let me see if I can go into the chat and fix that really quick. So just 1 second, okay? Give me just 1 second. I'm trying to fix the closed captions, okay? All right. I'm in live. And let me check. Closed captions should be on. Yeah, it says no captions available. It's for whatever reason, it's not letting the captions. It says the video is currently processing. So I guess it turns on the automatic captions once I'm done. I'm sorry, friends. I wish I could fix that right now. Okay, if you can hear me, that's super. If you cannot hear me, I will make sure that after the stream is done that I will process the video so that it adds captions for those who cannot hear me. Can you guys still hear me? Hi, Trinita King from Louisville. Can you guys hear me? I need somebody in the chat to let me know if they can hear me loud and clear. Okay, thank you, Amy. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So sorry for the delay with all of the technical difficulties, but welcome. Welcome to lesson 6 of the Jelly Roll Gnome of the Month. Our lessons have gotten a little bit skewed and out of order. So let me just go over really quick what we're going to be learning today. So if you are here and you can hear me, thank you for joining us for this live stream. Today we're going to be working on free motion applique, which is a different method of anchoring your fabric pieces together. And so this is kind of like one of those hybrid skills that you learn, because you can use free motion applique for a lot of different things. Free motion applique is great for quilt as you go, and free motion applique is also great for collage quilting. So if you're interested in collage quilting, this will give you kind of a sneak peek into how to do a little bit of free motion applique. And so that's what we're going to learn today. And so welcome to June. According to our schedule, we were supposed to be doing reverse applique, so we're going to do that in July. So I'm going to do reverse applique in July. Okay, friends? All right, so let's get started. The pattern shows that we're making one gnome today. So that's what we're working on. So that's the option for June. You also have some optional things. For example, I added to this month I added a baby girl gnome because I keep getting asked for baby girls and girl gnomes. So I added a baby girl, and that's Pemberton's baby sister, Jenny. So if you have the pattern printed, you're going to see that. I'm going to do that as a supplemental video because I'm going to do an entire lesson on invisible needle turn. So Jenny is going to be a separate lesson, and she's a bonus gnome. So we have Pemberton, right? And he's our gnome of the month for June. In the United States, June is Pride Month. So I'm going to send this message out to everyone out there. So that is what we have here. We also have some bonus items. I have a little picket fence and a watering can and a plant. I will not be using these in my demonstration video because I'm pulling out the bonus palm tree with the surfboard and the waves, because in our family we go on vacation in June, right? And so in June we always go to the beach, and so that is why I am going to be using this month the surfboard and the palm tree that I already posted. I see your messages about closed captions, Nancy. And what I will do is after the live stream is over, I will make sure that I add closed captions because I have to type those in if it automatically doesn't do it, okay? So I will do that. If you cannot hear me, can you please try to turn up your microphone or go out and come back in, because I think most people can hear me at this point. All right, friends, so let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I want to talk about for free motion applique is, what is it? Free motion applique is the process in which you take all of your pieces and they can be fused or glued onto the background, and then you use your sewing machine with the feed dogs lowered, and you can use a darning foot or a regular foot with the feed dogs down, but you have to have the ability to move the fabric in every direction. So let's talk about free motion applique. The most important thing is the needle. So for me, I always use a jeans or a top stitch needle. That's a 90-14 for this particular skill, because you're pushing that needle through a lot of fabric, and so you're going to need a decent size needle, okay? All right, so needle size 90-14 for free motion applique. And the other thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a way of gripping your block. So I use a little bit of, this is like shelf liner. So I have a couple of pieces of shelf liner because that allows me to move my fabric quite easily. And so it has like a grippy texture. It's kind of rubbery on one side and rubbery on the other. And so I use that when I free motion applique. You can use this for free motion quilting as well. And so I'm going to use that today. I have all of my pieces for Pemberton already chopped out, and I have the bonus palm tree, which is on the website. I also have 2 surfboards. I couldn't make up my mind if I wanted a colorful surfboard or if I just wanted more of a plain surfboard, but he has 2 surfboards, and I'll make up my mind in a minute. And then I have all of his other pieces. Okay, so I have all of the pieces I need. And then last, I'm going to show you this right here. This is called a silicone washer, right? And this silicone washer is something that's going to go in my bobbin case because it reduces those eyelashes that you can get on the back of a piece when you're free motion quilting. And if you're brand new to this channel, will you do me a huge favor and hit that like and subscribe so that we can bring you more content. So this is a little bobbin washer. And so there we have it. Okay, the same background that I use on all of my other blocks is here. And it is a 10.5 across by 12.5 inches down. And that's the same background that I've been using for all of my gnome blocks. And you can see them in the back. For this particular block, I've been using just a variety of scraps. I'm going to use something that kind of looks like sand. So I'm going to pull this one out. And then I'm going to be sure to measure about a 1/2 inch from either side of my block like this. And I'm just going to kind of finger crease it right there. And finger crease it right here just to make sure that I'm not appliquing too close to those edges, because I need that seam allowance when I put that in my quilt. Okay, so let's start laying out our pieces, because the first thing that we're going to do for free motion applique is we're going to lay out all of our pieces. But before I do that and even start laying out the small pieces, I'm going to use something on the back of this fabric to stabilize it. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I don't know how hot it's been where you are, but it feels like in Kentucky we went from spring to all of a sudden summer. How's it going where you guys are at? All right. Let me pull this over here. I have a wool pressing mat. If you put your wool pressing mat on top of a cutting mat, always be sure to protect that surface with something else. I use a cutting board or just a piece of plywood, but always protect your cutting mat from heat, because it will warp really, really fast. Okay, so I have my background, right? And like I said, it's 12.5 inches tall by 10.5 inches. I'm going to flip it with the wrong side up. I don't know if you guys can see that. And I'm going to cut some interfacing to fit the back of this piece. And I'm going to put interfacing anywhere that I'm going to have a design. And I like this ultra sheer weight interfacing that Pellon makes because it has a grid on it, and so it's easy to cut and use on the back. And so this is a 1-inch grid, so I know I can count down 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I can just chop it with a scissors, and I'm going to go 12 up. But I'm going to use this ultra lightweight fusible stabilizer on the back of the majority of my block, because I want to keep my fabric from puckering when I start to free motion the back. Now you can always use batting, because you can do free motion applique and do a quilt as you go. And so I just kind of cut it along these lines. And I'm going to set that to the side. And I'm going to just make sure that I have enough that it goes close to the edge, but not all the way to the edge. I'm going to cut that really quick. And so this is an ultra lightweight fusible stabilizer that I'm going to iron onto the back of my piece. I save all these little bits. I try not to waste anything, and I try not to put anything in the landfill if I can avoid it. All right. Yes, 100 degrees in Texas. Oh my goodness, that is so hot. Okay, so I'm going to take, right, and I'm going to put a little bit of a Teflon sheet to protect my wool mat, because I don't want it to get sticky. And then on top of this, I'm simply going to put a little bit of parchment paper. Make sure you don't have any threads or anything trapped in there. And so I'm going to leave a little bit of a border all the way around, maybe a 1/2 inch to a 1/4 of an inch, so that interfacing doesn't stick out. And then I'm going to just use regular parchment paper, and I'm going to press this down. So let's get my iron over here. Let's get it started. Just lay down that parchment paper. So I'm making a sandwich, right? So rainstorms in Missouri, nice and humid. Gotta love humid weather. My hair gets 3 inches taller. So I always get taller. I'm 4'10". And so whenever it's humid, I joke around that that's the only time of the year where I get a little bit taller. It says, why is it not letting me print the patterns until a few hours after the live? I'm not sure, Rebecca. The pattern posted on Friday, and it was live on Friday, so it was shareable. Has anybody else had problems printing their pattern? Were you guys able to print your pattern? Okay, so I'm just carefully gliding my iron. And I'm putting a little bit of interface on the entire back of my block. So first I'm going to press it from the back. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to make sure that it's nice and pressed from the front. And if you're using ultra lightweight fusible interfacing, which is what I'm using, that works great. If you have a wash away interfacing, that works great. All right, so there I have it. I have the entire surface stabilized. Yes, I'm 4'10", and I'm very short, so I like summer weather because my hair gets puffy, and when my hair gets puffy, I look taller, a tiny bit taller, right? All right, so there we have it. I have the entire block. I have a little bit of interfacing on the back, and what that will do is that will prevent, and if you notice, it's still nice and soft and flexible, and it doesn't add a bunch of weight. So if you can see it, it's still very flexible. But what that does is it enables my entire block to remain pucker-free when I'm doing that free motion applique. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of starch. Now, normally I would not starch, but I am going to starch this time because free motion applique requires a little bit of different treatment of the fabric. And I'm going to starch it from the back, not the front. The reason I'm starching from the back is to allow my fusible web to stick to the front. Because if I were to starch it from the front, it would keep my applique pieces from sticking to the front. Barbie, you're 4'11" and a half. That's awesome. You're not quite 5 foot. I bet if you fluff your hair, you can get to 5 foot. All right, friends. So there I have it, right? I've taken a moment to stabilize my back. Now I can begin, and I'm going to pull this camera way up so you can see the whole thing. I'm going to move my microphone out of the way. Now you can see my entire block. So now I'm going to start designing everything that I'm going to put onto the background, okay? Everything that's on the background. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to have a palm tree, right? And I'm going to go ahead and remove the fusible web off of my palm tree because it needs to go on the background. And so this one has fusible web. You can also do this with a glue stick, but I find that when you have a lot of detail and you're doing a lot of free motion, you see that palm tree has a lot of little spikes, that fusible web is probably the best option for this particular block. And I need to make sure that it's not too close to the edge, so I'm going to center that a little bit. I've got the actual palm tree, which I chose a lighter brown because we're going to be free motion some detail on there. So I'm going to put this on here. It won't take me but a minute. Rose, if you will email me, I will make sure that you get that pattern today. So look at that. Monica's 5 foot. We got a lot of shorties in the house. Yay! Welcome to the Short Girl Club. Okay, so there we have it. Palm tree is on the background. Now we have to decide, if you look at the pattern, there was a little bit of a wave. If you saw this pattern here, you see this thing that looks like a wave. Where this fits is right here between the palm tree and the edge, because we want to give the illusion of water in the background. He's not going to be standing in the water, and so he's going to have water in the background. So what I did is I traced that wave like this, and then I kind of added a few more wavy lines just in case I wanted to put the ocean on the right hand side. But I changed my mind, and I think the ocean is going to stay over here on the left. And so I'm going to put the ocean like this, kind of in the background, because I want to give that background the illusion. And so I can make my waves go anywhere I want. And I'm going to put my gnome over here on the sandy beach. And he's going to be holding his surfboard. So that palm tree, I'm going to angle it like this. Slide that over. Get it exactly where I want. And now I can put this onto my water fabric. And I love batiks for this particular skill, because batiks fray very little, and it makes for a great finished product. And especially if you're going to wash your quilt a lot, or you want to use it and love it and have other people use it and love it, then this is a great thing to do. So I'm going to go ahead and fuse that on the back. And I think my waves are going to go the opposite direction because it's mirror image, but that's okay because I'm going to cut the waves the way I want to cut them. So even if you did what I did and you drew your waves not the direction you want, you can always freeform those. I also want my tall friends to know that we love you. And I like having tall friends. Okay. I'm going to turn this little iron on high. If you ever do collage quilting, or you're working with little tiny applique pieces, one of these little tiny irons is my best friend. I love it. Yeah, this blue batik is gorgeous, isn't it? It looks like ocean waves. It has like a little starfish on it. So let's see what we've got here. I'm going to cut this, and I'm going to freestyle it, right? There's nothing like freestyle applique. I want you to feel confident enough to do whatever it is that you want to do with your applique. You don't have to worry about it not being perfect, it not looking like somebody else's. Your applique is yours, and it should look exactly the way you want it. All right, so I want my waves to go in here, so I'm going to get my good applique scissors, my serrated edge, and I think I'm going to just freestyle some waves with my pen across this front here. I think I want my waves to just kind of go like this and come back like this. Can you guys see that? Probably not. So I'm going to freestyle some waves like this with a pencil and like this. Okay, so there's where I want the waves to be, and I'm going to cut those out. Start at the top, come back around, don't be afraid to freestyle any of the designs on this quilt, because the purpose of this is to give you ideas, and then for you to take and run with those ideas and do whatever it is that you want. There we have it. I like those waves. They fit right there, and then I'm going to chop this off. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of overlap, but not too much because I don't like it when my applique gets too stiff. Save those little bits because if you're a collage quilter, those are great for other things. So save those bits. All of your bits. Don't waste any fabric, friends. Fabric is too expensive. Oh, somebody said, can I give a close-up of my serrated scissors? These are Clover brand, and these are serrated on this edge. And so what that does is it grips the fabric so they don't slide. Like on regular scissors, if I cut this, it kind of slips a little bit, but the serrated scissors always grip. And so you get very tight curves and very clean details. And so that's what I like. The palm tree is on the website, and it was posted about 3 months ago. So the palm tree is on the website, www.jellyrollclub.com. So that's where the palm tree is. That's an old pattern that we posted earlier in the series. Okay, so there we have it, right? I have the ocean out there in the middle of the ocean. I have the palm tree. And remember, I post bonus content, and you can use it all or use none of it. It's up to you. I just put extra stuff out there for you to play with. Then I have my Gnome guy. He's going to be standing over here, kind of in the front. I could put him behind the palm tree or in front of the palm tree, but I'm going to put him in front of my palm tree. May layer him like this. I'm not sure yet. He could be standing under. He has an arm. If you notice, my gnome this month has an arm that sticks out, right? And that's so he can hold his surfboard. And then I have an arm where he's kind of bending his arm like he's flexing. And so I'm still trying to decide what I want to do with this palm tree. Is it a windy palm tree? Maybe. But he's going to go close to the top. And like I said, don't be afraid to turn these pieces in any direction you want and play with it. And so you're just going to keep playing with it. I've removed all the paper backings. I'm going to give this a little bit of a swirl because I don't want my waves to be flat on the bottom. And like Eleanor Burns, I'm just chucking stuff behind me. Oh, well. All right, so he's going to have a surfboard down here. And it could be this surfboard, or it could be this surfboard. It might be the soft one. But he's going to be surfing. I have his beard. This guy is a brunette, unlike some of my other gnomes that were blondes. Some of them had white hair. This guy is going to be a brunette, and he's going to have a brown beard. So Pemberton has a brown beard, and he's going to have a little surfboard. His surfboard, I think I want his surfboard on this side here. So he's going to lean his surfboard against the palm tree, just like that. And it takes me forever. I don't know about you guys, but it takes me forever to decide where to put my pieces. Sometimes I take them on and off 5, 6, 7 times. All right, so this is the arm. If you notice, when I did his arm, I cut a little notch right there. And the reason I do that with his arm is because I want to be able to tuck that arm behind the shirt and bring it forward like that. Can you see that? On the arm, I cut a little slit like this so that I can bring his arm forward just like that. I'm not going to use a belt. There's an optional belt on the pattern because I don't think he needs one. So there he is, standing against a palm tree with his surfboard. leaning against that palm tree. And I have his arm, and I've added extra length to that arm because I might want him, see how he's got his hand up on the surfboard? I might want that arm to go up high or down low. And so by doing that, by adding extra length on that piece, I can adjust him to go wherever he wants. So he's got that surfboard leaned against there. I could always put his surfboard down over here. But I think I want his surfboard leaning against his palm tree right here like this. Now what about his feet? I am not going to use a grassy knoll this time because he's standing right on the sand. And so there are his little feet. I need to go the correct direction. And so I have my guy with all of his bits ready to go, right? And so now I can fuse the entire thing. And it takes me a while to pick out all of the little parts that I want. And so once I get him settled, then I start fusing. And this is where this little iron comes in handy, right? I'm very picky. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to put my Pemberton together first, and then I'm going to lay him down. And so I'm going to grab a little piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to put bits and pieces together. I'm going to move this out of my way, and I'm going to lay the parchment paper down on top of my felt board, and I'm going to take the two pieces that I'm ready to join together. And so I'm going to pull the beard, just pull him right off. And if you remember, I cut most of the fusible interfacing away, so there's only some on the edges. And if you find that you don't like some of these hats, you think, oh my gosh, that hat is just too big, too exaggerated, feel free to use any of the other hats from any of the other months, because all of these pieces are interchangeable. And then I'm going to take this little tiny iron and I'm going to press along that edge. So I'm literally just sealing that edge so that I don't kill the glue. There you go. Next, I'm going to put his nose on. And don't be afraid to press and press this stuff. The more you press, the more the glue kind of gets deactivated. So if you're having problems with your needle getting sticky when you're doing these things, don't panic. If you forget to tuck his nose in like I just did, don't worry. You can just lift this up just a hair. Heat it up just a minute. Stick something under there to peel it up for a second, and guess what? It comes right up. And then you can stick his nose. And if it doesn't come apart from the front, you can always peel it from the back. Lickety split. So let me warm that up. And I do this sometimes. I just kind of reactivate the glue and pull them apart. So I'm just going to pull that back. Boy, that's sticky today. Okay, well, I guess the nose is going on top. That looks fine. Sometimes you have happy accidents, friends, and it's okay. So there's that nose. This is brand new fusible interfacing. So there's the nose, right? And the newer the newer the fusible web, the more sticky it gets. All right, so I have his nose. I'm going to go ahead and put his body together. And like I said, I like to do him sometimes in sections. So if you watch the video on the fairy, then you know that I like to build one entire composite. What is the tiny iron called? It's a Clover mini iron is what it's called. And so I'm going to lay that there. Clover, C-L-O-V-E-R, like a 4-leaf clover. And it's a Clover mini iron. And I like it because it helps with all these little jobs, especially if you have little tiny things here. You can just take it and do just little tiny bits of your applique design instead of your entire applique. And so in this method, you're not squandering or using up all of the glue. I'm going to put the arms on last because I want the arms to be situated with the surfboard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach all of these little pieces to make it easier for me. Do I have a left and a right foot? Thank goodness I do. There you go. And don't be afraid to use crazy fabric. Look at this fabric on this now. He is very much a swirly, twirly, friendly little guy. All right, friends, do you guys have any questions so far? This method should be very familiar, right? And so the method we're going to be doing today is free motion applique. All right, now I'm going to put together my wave. I'm going to take this off. If you ever have trouble peeling the backing on fusible web or fusible interfacing, just use your seam ripper or a pin or something that won't pierce your fabric. I used the back of this and just scored it a little bit. And I want this to fit right about there, right along that edge. So I'm going to overlap it maybe a 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to join them just right there. Let it cool down a second. So now I have one guy here, and he's all attached. And I have this wave all attached there. This is your chance to touch up anything. This wave isn't deep enough for my liking. So I'm going to come in here with these serrated scissors, and I'm going to take a little chunk of that wave out and make it a deeper wave. Because surf's up, guys. There we go. See it? Now that wave is a little bit deeper. So I've got all of that. And now I'm ready to start anchoring this stuff to my background. So by pre-fusing some of these pieces together, it makes it easier for me to put this together on my background and less likely for it to shift around. Yes, these little mini irons are great for English paper piecing. They're super duper for that. I love my little baby iron. It's great for detail work. Anytime that you're doing small detail work, applique, English paper piecing, little tiny pieces, it's great for that. Maybe you don't feel like dragging out your giant iron. It's great for travel because you can stick it in a suitcase and take it with you on vacation. I love those little tiny irons. So there you have it. And the reason I do this like in sections, just like I did today, is because it keeps me from misplacing all of my little pieces. So there you go. Remember, cut a little notch in his arm and tuck him behind his shirt, just like that. And you can move his arm. That gives you the ability to move his arm around a little bit. And then I'm going to take this little mini iron. I'm just going to give it a little tiny press right here in the corner just to hold it down and keep them all together. There is the surfboard. All right, we'll use this surfboard. I was going to use a baby blue, but I changed my mind. I like this one instead. Looks very colorful like the surfboards I see in Florida. Would you recommend batiks to avoid too much fraying? Yes, absolutely. Batiks are a very good choice for this because you do want to reduce the amount of fraying. on a free motion quilted piece. So if you've noticed, this is a batik, this is a batik. Most of this fabric is batiks. There are a couple of exceptions, but this is a batik as well. This is not, but hey, you can't always find a batik with the patterns that you would like. All right, so let's put this stuff together and see how it goes, right? If I decide I don't like his hat, I might trim him and make him a short hat. So we shall see how it goes, right? And don't be afraid to improvise and change the patterns to suit your particular taste. All right. Here we go. Now we start building the entire thing. Now remember, I've interfaced him with lightweight and fusible interfacing. This is not a wash away, but it is very soft. So it won't hurt my process here. It won't hurt my little block. I can decide now where I want all of these pieces. What if I put the palm tree upside down? I don't know. Maybe it's wind blown. When is hurricane season? I'm not sure. I could have the palm tree blowing that way. And maybe the water going down it. It's okay if this goes all the way out to the edge. I'm okay with that if the water goes all the way out to the edge. So let's go here. And maybe my palm tree sits better that way. All right. Yeah, I like it this way. All right. So here's my guy. And he sits about a 1/2 inch from the top and about a 1/2 inch from the side. And like I said, don't be afraid to adjust your pieces however you want them. His surfboard is over here leaning up against the tree. I'm going to overlap him in front of that surfboard. And then I'm going to put his arm over here like this. So he's kind of holding his surfboard. And now I'm ready to do the entire thing and fuse it completely down. Just like that. Now, he overlaps right here, and I'm okay with that. But if you were using a very, very light colored piece, sometimes you can get some shadowing. So just be aware that you can get some shadowing behind there. All right, so I'm going to decide which way to put the palm tree. I could put the palm tree in front. I could put the palm tree in the back. And I think I'm going to actually put him behind the palm tree, just like that, his little hair. So now I've got my palm tree. I've turned him so that he's taller. And now I'm ready to fuse the entire thing. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to take my little iron, and I'm going to anchor him in little places, just to keep it from moving, right? I'm going to anchor him. I'm using it on hot, so it's very hot and dry. And I'm just anchoring him. All right, so once I get most of him anchored the way that I want, remove that water. I'm going to trim my water just a hair on this side so that it's even with that edge. And if I decide to put a little bit of more fabric, I can, but I think this is pretty good. I'm within a 1/2 inch of the bottom. I have room on the side. And I've got all of my pieces pretty much anchored now. Like I said, this is a very hot iron, and it's very good for all these little tiny pieces. Okay. I'm going to bring my parchment paper over now, and I'm going to fold him in half. Fold him over. And I'm going to press the entire thing with my iron, just to make sure that it's all stuck down. So I'm going to take my big iron, and I'm going to give it a good press. I'm going to wait for that iron to heat up a second. And I'm going to make sure that this entire thing has been anchored down very carefully. So I'll wait for my big iron to heat up a second, because you do want a big fat iron for this. And then we will be ready to free motion. It says hurricane season is June 1st to October 31st. Is that in Florida? So I guess I always go at the start of the hurricane season to Florida. But June is always my vacation month. About 20 years ago, we bought a timeshare. And it's not like the new timeshares, but we bought a timeshare in Florida. And so every June we go with our family, and it is one of the things that my kids look forward to, and I look forward to it too. When I was a young girl growing up in Southern California, going out to the beach early in the morning and watching the surfers was always something I enjoyed. All right. There we have it. So we have Pemberton, and he has his surfboard, and he has the ocean behind him. So there we have it. And now we're ready to do what I call thread painting or thread sketching, right? Make sure we've got him all the way down. So I'm going to take the iron and push outward. And when I use the iron, I'm barely gliding across the surface. I'm not pushing and scrubbing, because that distorts your pieces. Okay, there he is. He still feels soft and flexible, and he is ready to go. All right, I'm going to turn off all of these irons because I don't want to burn myself. So I'm going to push all of these irons out of the way, and then I'm going to move my piece over to my machine, and I'm going to switch camera views. So hopefully I won't have any issues with the microphone. So please let me know if you lose audio. Okay? Because sometimes technology can be a little bit picky. All right. All right, I'm going to move my camera angle. Can you guys hear me still, now that I've switched camera angles? All right. So I'm going to move my camera closer to the machine behind me so you guys can see what's going on. So I have Pemberton all fused down, and he's sitting there with his surfboard. And I'm going to be using my machine to do some free motion applique. So let me bring this camera over here, and I'm going to lower it at an angle. Can you guys see my machine if I leave it like this? Trying to get a really good angle without the camera shaking on you. All right, that looks like a pretty good angle. And you guys can still hear me. Okay, so on my sewing machine, I have installed a jeans 9014 needle because I'm going through lots of layers of fabric, right? I'm going through, in some cases, 2 or 3 pieces of fabric, a little bit of fusible web, and then I have the interfacing on the back. So now I'm going to start the process of putting details on this entire block, and I'm going to be using black thread. I'm going to start in one edge and work all my way around and then come down here. So because I want to put detail on this palm tree, I'm going to start here on this frond of the palm tree, go all the way around, and then come back here and end here, and then scooch my way all the way down to the bottom of that palm tree before I stop. And I'm going to do that with black thread to give this palm tree lots of details. So let me show you how that works. I've got my feed dogs down. I have a free motion foot on my computer, on my sewing machine, and I've got black thread in the top and the bottom. So I've tested my tension and it looks like my tension is okay. So always do a little bit of tension test before you start. And then I'm going to start working my piece, right? I'm going to take and I'm going to use a straight stitch and a free motion foot, and I'm going to start putting details on my piece. And I think you guys are close enough to see, so let's get started. Like I said, I'm going to start somewhere where I can add some detail, and I'm going to start working. There we go. Is it down? All right, so here we go. Don't you love it? You know, right before I go on camera, I tested everything's fine. And I lower the feed dogs. Now, and the foot got pulled. There it goes. Now it goes. Don't you love that when you set up? And then there it goes. Here we go. Happy times. Now it's gone. So I'm going to slowly work my way across. And if you can hear it, sometimes it hesitates just a little bit. So I'm going to lower my stitch length just a little bit, and I'm going to try to go a little bit faster because that helps. And that keeps it from getting too sticky because it doesn't like to go through that many layers. So yeah, I'm going to lower my stitch length just a hair. And then I'm going to go a little bit faster. And I'm trying to go along the edges of my design and give it some detail. So what I'm trying to do is give it as much detail as possible. I'm going to go here. And so you're just free motion sewing as if you were free motion quilting, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to give as much detail as possible to those palm leaves. And please feel free to rotate your pieces and sew in any direction. And I'm going to come to the middle of each of those palm fronds and then come down and then come back. Because what I'm doing is I'm giving it a little bit of a design, kind of like a natural palm frond as I work. Okay, so I'm going to show this to you in just a minute. Okay, so I'm going to bring my camera so that you can see. As you can see, I'm going through here and I'm literally drawing with my thread. I'm drawing the designs in. So I'm going to be able to move this around in any direction, and I'm drawing leaves on here. And this is great for applique that involves birds or leaves or flowers. And so that's what I'm going to continue doing. I'm going to go through here and I'm going to give lots of detail to this piece. And all of this thread that I'm using holds this down. And this is why I have the interfacing. If you notice, look at how flat. There's no puckers in any of my pieces because these were all starched before I started. I used interfacing on the back and I used fusible web. And so when you use those three things, it creates a very flat applique that has no puckers in it. Yes, you're absolutely correct with the little iron. If you ever touch the shaft of that iron, it will burn your hand. Very much so. So I come back in, and I'm doing all of the stems, and then I'm back to the middle. Okay? So I came down, and I did all the way around, and I went back to the middle. Do you guys see that? The detail? And that's what it looks like. Okay? I'm going to keep on working for just a little bit to show you how this works. Hopefully this camera is stable where I've placed it. And I'm going to come back down the other side. This piece is small, so I'm not needing to use my shelf liner, but if you find that your piece is not gripping, you can just put a little bit of shelf liner behind your hands just like I did. And then you can move it just like this, easy breezy. I'm going to come back to the middle. And rotate it so that you can go a different direction. Always rotate your fabric so that your hands are not in an unnatural position. So you want to keep your hands level to your body so that it doesn't hurt your back. So if your hands are level to your body, then you're more able to do this for longer periods of time because this can be rough on the back if you're not careful. So you're always turning it and adjusting this frequently so that it doesn't hurt your wrist or your back. And then I stop and I flip it the other direction so that I can see my work. You always want to be able to work in little small sections and see where you're going so that you can have a better control over your design. And then I'm back to the middle. And so now let me show you what the second one looks like. And so now I have two of those palm fronds, and look at the nice detail that you start to get using this particular method, which I call thread sketching. Somebody said, what machine do you use? The machine that I'm using right now is a Bernina Artista 730. This machine is almost 20 years old, so I know they have newer technology now, but this is an older Bernina machine that I've had for a long, long time. I got it as a gift from my husband. All right. May says, having trouble downloading on my iPad. May, why don't you send me an email and I will send it to you direct because sometimes the files are too big for mobile devices like iPads or phones, okay? All right, so now I'm going to do the same thing one more time and I'm going to go across. And I'm going to go down the sides of the palm fronds like this. And you can do this on part of your design and not all of it. When I start to go backwards, I'm going to go ahead and rotate my piece so that I can see the work, and it's easier to pull the fabric towards you than away from you. So anytime that you're free motion quilting, try to work within a section that's maybe 6 by 6 and try to pull the fabric towards you, because that's always easier on the hands and shoulders than away from you. And a lot of people don't tell you that, but that is my number one tip. When doing free motion work, try to pull towards you and not away from you. And slow and steady. If you find that your needle starts to kind of gum up a little bit and start lifting, you can take a little bit of alcohol on a swab or even a little bit of sewing machine oil and clean it off of your needle. And then I'm coming back to the middle and I can start again. And like I said, I rotate the piece and I work towards me. If you have little edges that start to curl, that means I got a little bit too fast, and that's okay, because I can always glue those down or come back and restitch along that edge. So there you have it. Do you see that? Now my little palm fronds look like somebody has taken a pen and they've sketched all of the detail on those palm fronds. And if you're doing or you're interested in doing collage quilting, this is an essential skill of putting everything down. You either glue it or you fuse it, and then you come through and you put all of the little details. Okay, friends, do you guys have any questions about free motion applique? This was the skill that I was trying to teach you today. So hopefully you got a short introduction into free motion quilting. Let me know if you are interested in doing a series on applique that is a collage applique, where you use lots of little bits. I can draft a pattern for you to practice on. I'm thinking maybe a turtle, because I love sea turtles, and that's one of the things that I look forward to, is sea turtle hatching season down in Florida when I travel down there. So just let me know. It says, my machine is a Singer 9960. It has free motion. However, I don't know how to bring the bobbin thread up to the top. Okay, to bring the bobbin thread up to the top, and this is true of every machine, is you take the flywheel, if it's a manual, and you drop the needle down, and then you pull it up. And let me show you what that looks like. So let me cut the thread, and let me show you really quick on how to bring your bobbin thread up, because that's important. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this bobbin thread here. And so that's what it looks like. You see the detail that I'm adding? I love how that's looking. It gives it a lot of detail to that applique. I love that. But to bring your bobbin thread up, super simple. You're going to take, and let me pull my bobbin out, because I cut that thread really short just now. And I'm going to pull that right. If you notice, I have a washer inside here. These little silicone washers are very helpful to keep your bobbin thread from getting these little things called bird's nests in the back. So you're going to pull that through there. You're going to get a decent length, maybe 10 inches. I'm going to put that back down there. Let's see if I can reach it. This little drop down table. There we go. And so I'm going to take to pull my needle up, and this is a good start for anybody who is trying to free motion applique. This is how I test my thing. You're going to take, right, and to bring your bobbin thread up, you're going to drop the feed dogs. You're going to drop your needle down, and you're going to hang on to this tail right here. I always use my seam ripper, and then I pull it up like this, and then you pull it away, and there you see the bobbin thread come up. You pull it towards you, And now both of these are here, and I return them and I hang on to both of them. And I'm going to start free motion sewing right to the right or to the left of where that bobbin thread is coming up. And so I'm going to just take and hang on to both of those little tails when I get started. Let's see if I can show you. Just like that. And I'm going to start right in a little spot, and then I'm just going to free motion. I'm just testing the tension. And that's how you get started. Okay, friends, do you have any other questions? Is there any questions that I could answer really quick before we're done for the day? Oh, a bobbin washer. This one's called a bobbin genie. They are a silicone disc. I will post it on the website what these are, and they come in a pack of like 3 or 4, and they're literally called a bobbin genie. And what that does is that keeps your bobbin, it keeps it smooth. It's like lubrication because it's made out of a really very slippery silicone material. And so it reduces the friction between that bobbin case and your bobbin so that it spins nicely. Sunbonnet Sue, of course, is in July. So we're going to start that the weekend of July 4th. So I think it's like July 1. And so if you have any questions for me, always post them in the chat. Let me know what I can show you. In July, we're going to be learning how to do reverse applique. So that's the skill. Remember, all of these are skill builders. I'm here to help you learn anything you want to learn. These are full-length lessons. They're not regular tutorials. And we got a lot more stuff coming up. I've got some surprises. I've been working on a lot more drawings and a lot more things, and so you're going to see stuff in the fall. I'm working on my website, so I'm going to get that done. And so I just want to thank you for joining us. I hope you have enjoyed another lesson from the Jelly Roll Club. Share our stuff with your friends. Make beautiful things. Look at that. You can draw too. It's like drawing with your sewing machine. All right, friends, I will see you guys later. We have a Dresden in 2 weeks. And so I will see you then if you're working on the Dresden as well. And if you are waiting on Sunbonnet Sue, that is in July. And so I will post things on the website, and I will post things on Facebook so you can see what's happening. All right, friends, thank you guys so much. I appreciate all your help and your support. If you are waiting on closed captions, I will have to go back in after the live stream, and I will have to type some closed captions in there for you. Sorry about that. Sometimes technology doesn't work out that way. Thank you so much. Don't forget to give it a like, a super like, subscribe. Join us every single month. We have lots of stuff going on. Bye, friends. It's been awesome. Thank you so much. Stitch up that palm tree, friends. It's going to look really cute. Bye, friends.